The two sweetest words in all of sports, and also the most anxiety inducing. Game 7. We'll preview it next on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being with us Monday through Friday, including on Friday night before a big Game 7 on Saturday. Do appreciate you joining us, whether you're listening to us on podcasts, if you're working on a weekend. Hey, been there, am there, I'm often there. Hope you have a good weekend. If you're off, enjoy the weekend. Should be nice weather in Colorado and a beautiful time for multiple Game 7s for your favorite sports teams. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I write a Substack about the Denver Nuggets called The Denver Dig. Just go to thedenverdig.com and you can sign up and subscribe. Get all sorts of stuff. I will write after Game 7, win or lose, rain or shine on Saturday. So we'll have a column up for you on that. Folks hanging out with me on a Friday night here at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Thanks for joining us. Hurricane's with us. Joe Broussard's with us. Steve Wynn's with us. Daniel Barry. Hey, guys. Dr. Van de Strand's hanging out with us. Go Nugs, he says. Big Honey says, I'm nervous. You should be. So today's show, we'll talk about Game 7. This is going to be a very X's and O's kind of feel one. Last time I did one of these, folks liked it, so I thought I would do another one for Game 7. Game 7s are weird in the NBA in that the tension causes a certain level of offensive slowdown. They're often ugly games. The under is a very popular bet in Game 7s. Now, I will say that in round 1, that doesn't necessarily be the case. Sometimes those games are a little bit more faster paced. And a little bit more high scoring, but it does tend to slow down and grind down, and everything is very, really, really tense. Most teams are usually sloppy. You've figured out all of the adjustments. You've thrown everything out. Now, that's what's kind of interesting is that the Clippers in Game 6, through some adjustments that they had been saving, starting Nikola Batum in the second half, doing a number of things in terms of moving Kawhi Leonard. We'll talk about those things on today's show, but they shifted some things pretty late in that game because they had to get Game 6. It was absolutely imperative that they get Game 6. So the question is, with 2 days, can David Adelman come up with counter adjustments? Are there counter adjustments? Because sometimes those adjustments that you need are with other players, and the Nuggets don't have them. They don't have a deep enough rotation. The other thing that Game 7s are typically about is just shot variance. It's there's just sometimes one team makes the shots and sometimes the team doesn't. And if you're like, isn't that every basketball game? Yes and no. I think Game 6 between the Warriors and the Rockets tonight was not about that. The Rockets played with more energy, more focus. Their defense was on point. Their rotations were sharper, and their offense was more credible, which is a real condemnation of where the Warriors are at offensively. But Game 7s do typically tend to be about, hey, you're able to create these open looks for the lesser shooters. Can they knock them down? Your Russell Westbrooks, your Chris Dunns, Nicholas Batum, who's a pretty good shooter, Derek Jones Jr., those kind of shots. It's pretty rare that Game 7s are defined by the superstar players. If you think back, actually last year, Ant had to pass a lot in that Game 7. He wasn't necessarily dominant down the stretch of that game because the Nuggets were throwing double teams at him because that had worked pretty routinely. But the Nuggets offense fell apart in that fourth quarter. Game 7 between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics back in 2010, for those of you old enough to remember that, was one of the grossest, ugliest, worst games I've ever watched. It was a terrible basketball game. It was basically just Kobe Bryant and Paul Pierce throwing the ball at the rim as hard as possible. Ron Artest was the biggest difference maker in that game. Meta World Peace was the biggest difference maker in that game. So it's not your typical game. Now, these two teams are pretty elite, and sometimes you do get those. Clippers versus Spurs 2015 was a good example of that kind of a game where it was that was a really just high-level basketball game. It was a great series. Chris Paul made the clutchest floater imaginable in the closing seconds with a hurt hamstring to win that series. It was absolutely phenomenal. I was texted tonight. I think I'll do this up front. I have bad news for Joey Alston. Joey says, Matt, I hope you predicted the LA Clippers win. Every time you bury the Nuggets, they always play your best. It's true. And I would like to do that for you. Unfortunately, Adam Mara texted me at night and was like, what do you think? Win or lose? My gut feeling is the Nuggets win. It's tough because a very simple answer is the Clippers, I think, have been a better team. Rob Mahoney said this on Simmons' podcast as well. The Clippers are the better team, but they're going to lose game 7. And that to me kind of seems like it. You do reach a level when you're at the Nuggets level of competition where you are able to find ways to win games. It's not luck. You just find ways to win them. There's a floor, and it's not even a floor. That's not the right word for it. There's a reinforcement and a level that you're able to play to where you're able to force things to happen for you. Now, if they play sluggish, if they don't chase after loose balls, if they do get beaten, if they get hit first, then yeah, they'll lose and they'll go out sad. But I feel like the Nuggets are going to find a way to win this game. Now, I thought they were going to win game 7 last year. I thought they were going to lose the series in 6. So like I'm wrong all the time. Analysis and predictions are two different things. Nick Wright actually said that today. As much as Nick Wright can irritate Nuggets fans for totally understandable reasons. I like Nick, but his Jokic stuff is nuts. I thought that was a really apt thing. It was like, I could do the best analysis possible. Predictions are very difficult because it counts on too many variables that you can't really pre-analyze. I can't tell you if Russ is going to make open 3-pointers tomorrow or if he's going to smoke layups. I can't tell you if Joker's going to go for the jump shot, if it's there and available to him, and if he'll drop. I don't know if Jamal's going to be able to get clean looks and just miss them. I don't know if Aaron's going to finally, turn back into a bad shooter like he was in game 6 when he's been so good this year. I don't know. Those things I don't know, but I do know that Denver hasn't been all that connected this year. They've shown some signs of it in the series. And I do still think that there is somewhere in there a beating heart of a championship level team. I don't think they have the talent to win the NBA championship, but they can play like it for 48 minutes. And I think that they can get one more there. Joe says, love that you and Adam still text all the time. Love Adam. Adam's my guy. He's everyone's guy, really. Coming up, let's talk about some tactical stuff. So they added Nick Batum to the starting lineup in the second half. They moved Kawhi Leonard. What can the Nuggets do to counter those moves? What are those adjustments? We'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Nuggets. You ever check into your bank account and wonder where all your money went? I do that all the time. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, especially with what groceries cost now. Because my kid had a birthday party and he wanted, the kid is a very picky eater. He wanted a steak. He doesn't get like the premium stuff. We go for like the okay ones. He wanted steak, bacon, and eggs. This is my teenage son. Steak, bacon, and eggs. I made vegetables for the rest of us, but that's what my kid got. And like these grocery bills, man, I tell you what. But that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You can manage money with your partner. It's smoother than ever now. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. If you are going to be at Game 7, swing on by. I don't know the section, unfortunately, because I don't pay attention. But swing on by over the where the Nuggets tunnel is, where they run out. That's where we are. If you come down to that section pregame, I have a sticker. There are no jinx and swipe and gripe stickers for you. So you can get one of those. A couple people reached out. If you hit me up, there's a very limited amount, first come, first serve. But if you hit me up on Twitter and we set up a DM and you tell me your address, we'll mail you a sticker. And by we, I mean my wife, because I haven't gone to the post office in like 20 years. Let's talk about, I talked about all the simplified things of like, all right, shooting variance, and there are tactical stuff that does matter in a game 7. And yeah, 5-ish was asking about this, and this is the thing I want to get to. He asked, what were your thoughts about the Clippers making the adjustment of Kawhi not guarding Mike? So that was a huge part of game 5, was that the Clippers were resting Kawhi by having him guard Michael Porter Jr., and the Nuggets were then able to run 4-on-4 action on the other side. So you put them in a corner. I wrote about this years ago. This is an old tactic teams used to use on the Spurs when Kawhi was at his peak. Then it was so bad. Like, there were sequences when Jimmy Butler was with the Bulls, they would have Jimmy hang out at half court with Kawhi, like, out there being like, "What? I have to stay attached to you. You're Jimmy Butler. What's happening?" And they would just run to the other side of the court and run action on that side and run 4-on-4, because you'd have like Tony Parker, who in age, 30, whatever. And you'd be able to generate pretty easy and good looks. And the Nuggets did that a lot consistently in game 5. In game 6, they moved him off. They moved Norman Powell onto Mike, and they put Kawhi on AG. That was his primary assignment, was AG. So in any of those situations where AG is the screener now they're just going to switch that. So you couldn't get away from, if they're running the 2-man game with Jamal and Jokic, right? They put Batum on Murray a lot, and they would just switch that action. And if you try and run Jokic, they just switch that action. And there's no like really good kind of counter there. It's Batum on AG, who's strong enough and tough enough. It's Batum on Jokic, and he did, like, you're absolutely right. Like, he just beat the snot out of him, just bumping him. It was ridiculous. And all these types of things. There are counters, though, that Denver can get to, which is one of the reasons they didn't want to do this. One, a very simple one, is just like, if AG just crashes the boards relentlessly, it's going to wear down Kawhi. Kawhi's a great rebounder, but Kawhi does not want to bang bodies with Aaron Gordon for 45 minutes. Now, I don't know if AG wants to bang bodies with Kawhi for 45 minutes, but that might be it, wind up being the question here. The other thing that they can do with Batum is, even though that he's a very able defender and good, he's really good at, the old man strength is what happens to these guys when they get to be this age, is why they play power forward and small ball center. But you can actually, then you move the screen higher, and now you have Batum chasing. Even if they switch it, right, or Jamal can just attack from up higher, you move him out, and now Batum has to cover more space, and that gets more difficult. Now you're crashing, and Jamal can pass, because Jamal's been a very good passer in this series. And if you look at the third quarter where everything melted down, I will tell you that when I went back and watched the third quarter, even with these like really tough adjustments, the Nuggets generated open corner 3 after open corner 3. It was AG, Christian, and Mike all getting open corner 3s because of the help necessary to help augment those kind of maneuvers, including how much attention they sent at Jokic on drives. And Jokic was actually trying to force the issue. Like, there's possessions where he was turning the ball over, losing the ball. He gets blocked by Zubac several times at the crowd. All these type of things happen because they're sending so much attention there. And it took Jokic a little bit. The other thing that was very evident to me was when Jokic had the ball up top in that pinch post position, when he's like top of the key, top of the paint, and he's trying to survey for like what he wants to do, drive, post, whatever. The Clippers are running a matchup zone underneath, which that's always difficult for cerebral brains like Jokic. LeBron had this trouble because what winds up happening is like you're trying to outthink the coverage and you can't do it because matchup zone jams all that. So you're going to see, I think, a little bit more of that matchup zone and just pure zone from the Clippers in game 7. Like, that's going to happen a lot more, which is why it's going to be really imperative for them to be able to have another ball handler on the floor. This is where, again, I kind of get to like, look, I am terrified that Russ is going to have a bad game. It would just pain me. It would just be painful. I don't want Russ to fail. Like, that's the thing that I talk all the time. Like, I'm not a Nuggets fan. Like, I don't want Russ to fail because I hate seeing guys like Russ and PG get clowned on by everybody when these guys have had such great careers and have never done really anything wrong. Like, they're not the guys that have the trouble. They're not the guys that make their GM's lives miserable. They're good teammates. But because they miss layups, it's this nightmarish situation. But I am concerned about that. However, if they run that zone and you have another ball handler, what you can do is you can move Jamal off ball as a potential shooter, use Russ as a screener, and use Russ as that big flashing to the middle because Russ can make those passes to cutters like the bigs that you ideally want to bust that zone. If it's a matchup zone, Russ is great because he's just going to attack downhill and you can get the offensive rebound advantage. Nuggets got to crash the glass in this one. Like, this is going to have to be a one where they win the rebounding advantage. They have not been a great rebounding team this entire season. That's going to have to change in game 7. You can't get killed on the glass in this one. And I don't know that that's necessarily on Jokic, because if this is just like a really tough rebounding matchup for him. They're blanketing him with two guys. They're swiping over the top of him, and Zoo's a really good contester. Like, they're letting a lot of contact go down there because of the physicality in the playoffs, and that's not specific to the series. But like, Joker's gotten beat to some of these rebounds. He's going to have to be a rebounding monster in this one. Like, he's going to have to be great, and he's going to have to get help from Mike and AG. But those are going to have to be some of the adjustments that they're going to have to kind of figure out as this goes. The Batum matchup, I do think, is like, it's a problem. I don't know if they're going to start it. Like, Lou isn't necessarily the type to be like, aha, I have you now. He might just go back to Dunn in this one and play completely by feel. The Batum adjustment might have been something that he did in game 6 that he does not go back to immediately in this one. Steve Wynn says Russ and Harden both have really bad playoff records. I hope Russ can overcome that tomorrow. Vicinity says Jokic has been so underwhelming. I don't know if he's been so. He won them game 4. That was a magnificent performance by him. Zoo's done a really good job. Like, you have to give Zoo a lot of credit here because he's hit his hook shots and Joker hasn't made all of his. Zoo has allowed a lot of contact, and that's definitely true. But this is also why Joker has to be extremely assertive tomorrow. I don't think this is a settle-in game. You got to hit first here. You just got to hit first. You have to make them desperate and hope they run out of gas. The counter to that is, like, the Nuggets hit first last year and they ran out of gas versus the Wolves. But I thought a lot about this. I personally just do not think that this Clippers team is built like that Wolves team in terms of its youth, its energy, and its ravenous activity. Like, the Wolves wanted to kill you on every possession. They went after you. They went for your throat every single possession. They still do that. Clippers aren't really like that. Like, Clippers are like just like a normal, really good team. So I think that you've probably got an opportunity to be able to kind of counter that. Vicinity says Michael Porter Jr. with one arm was attacked more and more and played off the floor, which gave him worse spacing and made the offense even worse. So I would agree with you there, Vicinity, except like the numbers don't really back that up. And to me, the eye test doesn't either. With Michael Porter Jr. on the floor in game 6, they had an 85 offensive rating. With Russell Westbrook on the floor, they had a 123 offensive rating. With Peyton Watson on the floor, they had a 121 offensive rating. That actually isn't what happened. Now, with Porter on the floor, they had a 135.4 defensive rating. What did happen was that, when this is what I was worried about, is Harden went at MPJ a lot more. This is something that Adelman has to be very sensitive to. If Harden really pushes the issue and forces the switch with MPJ and goes at him, that's when you may have to pull MPJ. He just can't do that. The backline defense, this is one where, for as much as we talk about scheme limiting Jokic or the foul trouble or whatever, this is where I'm telling you, this is where they really need a weak side rim protector at center, and they don't have it. Because if Mike gets beat, Joker has to be the one to kind of come over, and he doesn't get there. He just gets beat by Harden. So now, what they've done in the past this season, which is not good, and I hate, is they just send blatant double teams. I just don't know if you can do that with this team with Norman Powell and Kawhi Leonard and Nick Batum. Like, they've just got too much spacing. They've got too many guys that can create their own shot. Even if you're able to run them off the 3-point line, which you probably won't be. That to me is, I think, a big part of this game 7 is just like, you're going to have to live with Harden. You're just going to have to. You have to live with Harden. If you can't live with Harden and Kawhi, and it's tougher to take away Kawhi because his shots are just like make or miss. So if Kawhi's hitting and Harden's forcing the issue and you're getting another 25 plus from both those guys, then yeah, Denver's going home for the summer. There's not a lot you can do. They don't have the defensive personnel to be able to solve that. I do think that making Batum, and even Norman Powell to a degree on the road in a game 7 make those shots is not a bad approach. Like, you're going to have to live with something. Like, you're going to have to live with something. At this point, like, I honestly, like, usually it'd be like, well, let's trade Zubac 2s for Joker 2s, but they're winning that battle right now. Jokic probably needs to shoot a few more threes than he has. Like, he's been very gun shy in this series in terms of, this is the first time I've really seen him have an uncertain of how to deal with the defensive coverage from Zoo. And it's Zoo with the weak side, with that matchup zone on the weak side. He's got to be just really aggressive and just be like, I'm letting it fly. This is game 7. Screw it. If I lose, I'm going to get to go back to Serbia. And that to me is how that's going to have to happen. Vincinity says, why don't we make Norman guard more? Okay. So here's what they did in game 6. They switch Norman onto MPJ. Now, Ryan and I have had this conversation off the air, and it's like a very big question of, okay, if they're going to put Norman on MPJ, then you put MPJ into the DHO and you make Norman guard those actions. The problem is that MPJ is not a good dribbler to begin with, and he has one arm. So you can't really do that. Like, you have to pretty much at this point concede Norman being over there. I don't think it's a bad idea to run some off-ball stuff. What I really would like them to do, honestly, is run split action with MPJ, using him as a screener and having him slip, or having him screen for Gordon or Murray and having them slip. They need to be able to use more off-ball screening actions to get those things, but the Clippers are also switching it very clean. So it's been tough. Like, the Clippers have done very good. They're a great defensive. Great's a lot. They're a really, 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 really good defensive team. And so that to me is like how that kind of goes. Vincenti says Russ would attack Norm. Yes, that's true. You're not wrong about the fact that Russell Westbrook would in fact attack Norman Powell. That is accurate. In game 6, his primary assignment, though, was Harden. And the reason is because Harden is slow, and Harden is inattentive and lazy. But what Harden is not is slow-handed. And Russ doesn't generate enough stuff off ball. This, again, is like a really good example. All of those, like, split cut, ghost screens, inverted pick and rolls with Russ, that's good stuff to run here. If they're going to put Harden on Russ, then you need to generate ways to get him moving off ball. And the problem is that Russ is mostly just going to be like, give me the ball, I'm going. I'm going to take Harden. And that's not where you want to do it, because Harden's really sneaky at steals and deflections. The best players in the league that are bad defensive players, and Steph Curry falls in this category and Jokic falls in this category, are able to compensate because they have such great hand-eye coordination and quick hands that they're able to cause deflections and steals. So Harden on Westbrook is actually a pretty okay matchup. So that's the problem, is you put MPJ, if you take MPJ off and you put Russ on, they're going to rotate Harden over there, and now Norman's going to be guarding Jamal, and maybe you can do something with that, or Norman's going to be guarding Christian. I continue to believe that the best thing for this entire series would be Christian just going nuts on cuts. And the more that Christian's gotten involved, Denver, I think, has gotten better in the series. But that's going to have to be a big part of game 7 as well. Coming up, let's talk a little bit about the mindset that the Nuggets need to have, and about trying to balance out, how do you finish this game without gassing out like last year while not falling behind too much, because that's my concern. We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. I would like it if everybody watching this show on YouTube put something that you liked hearing from Ryan Blackburn this year, whether it's his rotation stuff, his advocacy for trades, something like that. Give Ryan some appreciation. It's been a long year. Ryan is worn out, and he's done a phenomenal job this year. So put something in the chat here at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets and say something good about Ryan Blackburn, who's been so good for the show this year. Let's talk about mindset for game 7. So this is a really tough one. Last year, they hit first, they hit early, they hit hardest, and they ran out of gas and were done in the third quarter, and especially in the fourth. Joker ran out of gas. Jamal ran out of gas. AG and MPJ ran out of gas by like halftime. They were just done. And they were toast by the end of that game. And that's why the Wolves came back from down 20 and won the game and sent Denver home. So you got to have enough in the tank. You also, though, you can't go into this game being like, we got to conserve energy. You can't. You cannot do it. Like, you just kind of got to press and hope you get enough. Because even though the Wolves came back from down 20, they're built a lot differently, and they have a lot of different lineups. They don't have to play the same minutes the Nuggets do. So this is going to have to be a freight train where, yeah, you can see it coming. It's not going to sneak up on you, but you're also not stopping it before it rolls through town. And you just keep moving, and you just got to run through the Clippers. They've got to be at their pace, but there's a very big difference. That second half, they were sluggish and slow. They were a little hesitant, and this happens a lot with teams. When you're in these battles and you're like, okay, all right, it's like possession 7,000 against this team. All right, here we go. And like, we're going to do this. And like, you're trying to be very careful and very deliberate with what you do. The risk of that, though, is that you move slower and they're able to rotate ahead of you, and they're putting pressure on you defensively. Sammy says, I don't think we'll be seeing Strother or Najee in any series based on how Adelman uses rotations. There's no reason to think that was going to be the case. Julian was a horrible defender this year, coming back off of injury. I like Julian, but he hasn't been able to go. Now, I do think we should have seen a Najee stint in this series. I just continue to think that was a mistake. You're not going to see DJ tomorrow. I feel pretty confident AG's playing. If AG doesn't play 48, he's going to play something close to 44. Like, all the starters are playing to the bone tomorrow. So Jokic ran out of gas last game, 2 of 9 from the field in the second half. It's just not going to cut it. You know, I went back and watched a lot of those, and it's funny. You know, I know what that was. Like, he was trying to force it. Like, he was coming down the lane and trying to force up shots, and he was getting bumped, and he was definitely trying to draw calls. This is why, like, look, this man was the second best jump shooter in the league with a minimum 100 pull-ups this season. It was like KD and him. He's got to shoot. Like, he's just got to shoot. You know, if he hits a bunch of jumpers over Zoo, that's going to break that defense quicker than anything else. It's just absolutely going to wreck everything. Steve says P-Watt should play DJ's minutes with AG at the 5. I kind of agree. I really wish that they would get Peyton Watts on the floor more in the series. I don't think Peyton has been. Here's the thing. Peyton can actually mess up defensively and still recover because he's so athletic, and they need that athleticism. So yeah, I agree with you on that count. I kind of want to wrap up just by saying, one, good luck. These games are always stressful. They're stressful. You're going to be a nervous wreck tomorrow if you're a real Nuggets fan. If you're a sicko, you're going to be messed tomorrow just waiting for this game 7. And these moments are cool. Game 7s are awesome. We all love them. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm wearing my Optimus Prime shirt today. And I'm cautiously optimistic. What I've tried to relay to Ryan is that, you know, we buried this team 1,700 times. And they fought a lot more in the series than honestly I thought that they might have when they went down. When they went down 2-1, I was like, one of the reasons I buried him is I was like, yeah, I don't think that they're going to get back out for it. Man, they just fought back. This team still has spine. This team still has heart. And you have an opportunity tomorrow to advance to the second round for the 3rd season in a row. It would be what? The 4th, 5th. Like, that's like the 6th out of 7th time that you've made the second round. Like, Denver's been eliminated in the first round once since making the playoffs in 2019. So they made second round versus the Blazers, conference finals in the bubble, second round in 2021 without Jamal. They got gentlemaned in the first round by the Warriors in 2022, won the title in 23, second round in 24. This will be the 7th time, 6th out of 7th time that they've made the second round. Oh, who cares in the second round? I care. I care because I remember when it was Carmelo Anthony and George Karl, and the whole thing was they couldn't get out of the first round. I remember when George Karl, an elite level coach with a lot of success in this league, got fired because his team couldn't get out of the first round. And this team routinely gets out of the second round. And yes, because of Joker, they should go further than that. I agree. But it'd be an accomplishment. And you got a chance to do that tomorrow. You should enjoy it. It's been a great series. It's been a wild series. Enjoy it as much as possible. I wish you nothing but the best of luck tomorrow, Nuggets fans. That's going to do it for me. Appreciate you guys being here with me on a Friday night. Enjoy the game on Saturday. We will be here for a post-game show for you tomorrow night, win or lose, either wrapping up the season or looking ahead to the Thunder. We'll see how it goes. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll see you guys after Game 7 here on Locked On Nuggets.